Welcoming you all once again, and I'm glad that your college really found this subject quite interesting, and they've invited a spokesperson to guide you on what it means to understand about lactation. So I also believe when Kamna suggested that there are a few students who would be keen on knowing also what it is all about, plus probably trying to think further on this line of how they can understand, lead, and maybe set this also as a career. And let me tell you at the onset, even I started as only a clinical nutritionist. And years ago, like, over 20 years ago now, that allowed me to decide that I was more keen to do something in the area of maternal nutrition. And that's the whole idea that how I shared with you in our last class about maternal nutrition. I hope most of you all have understood about it. Is there any question or anything we need to discuss something more? Please put your question here so that we can answer that, and you all have a complete understanding of what you need to take from the two classes that I do today for you. Okay. Anything there? If somebody wants to post something, if you've not understood something, please post it right away so I can address that before we go ahead. You can use, or you can unmute yourself. Probably you can use the chat box to post your question so that I can take this further. Okay, is this better? Should I speak a little more louder, or it's fine? Yeah, all right. No questions? Good. So I understand everybody knows everything about maternal nutrition. Is it? Well, it's, basically it's such a vast field that the more you read, the more you feel that you want to know more. And the more you are understood about it, the more you feel you can help many, many, many maternal cases, or rather many, many mothers to be, to help their understanding into how they can help themselves while they are pregnant and beyond. So there's just one question which has come here, which is talking about, are there any jobs revolving around lactation counseling? Yes, lactation counseling is now becoming a field wherein you will be able to place yourself as a lactation educator or a lactation counselor with hospitals, wherein they create that kind of a post. And there are a lot of maternity setups basically who kind of employ you as a lactation counselor or lactation educator. So, to start with, there are these three or four institutions basically which offer to learn around this course. And I myself have certified from the Kappa Institute. And there are two more institutes wherein you have this IBCLC, which is an International Bureau of Certified Lactation Consultants. And there is also a La Leach League, LLI Institute, LLLI Institute, wherein you also learn more about the lactation. But everybody has their own particular they have their own particular standards, and they have a lot of entry requirements to start their course. Some of them need a lot of learning also around it. Yeah, and of course BPNI is one of the other ones which are definitely functional around the place. And see, all of these basically have their particular requirements for you to participate, or to be accepted as a student in that course. So you'll have to check through all their websites to see what is it that they want. Because when I started, probably when I wanted to learn around the lactation education after several years of clinical work in dietetics, I realized that the IBCLC basically requires a learning, or rather an employment, wherein you can show 1,000 hours of working with another lactation educator to be able to certify for, I mean, to be able to qualify for the examination purpose. So, these are a couple of requirements. So if you actually are very, very keen, you should know what will be necessary so you can start preparing from there. So for me to, go about and kind of appear through the IBCLC was going to be difficult, because after several years of work, now you again go back and start studying under somebody, leaving your whatever job profile, etc., was getting pretty much challenging. So then I chose this CAPA as an institute, because that allows you learning through workshops and through online services. Plus, you have some educative observation classes and you have a qualifying exam. So these are the procedures. So, once you go through all these websites, you will educate yourself as to what needs to be done. Okay? So generally giving an idea of, it's not all about food, nutrition, dietetics when it comes to lactation. This is definitely one important part, because a mother who's not well nourished will definitely have a difficulty in managing how to feed her baby. But coming to understand that there are several more things which this mother also has to know, so that she is able to manage, despite of being able, if her body, if it is physically fit and is able to generate enough milk, if she is not able to understand how to manage the entire process, then again it's going to be a difficult time for her, right? So that's why I thought, I'll just take you through, because I don't know exactly what you all are expecting out of this class. But for me, as a lactation educator, if I feel that what somebody would like to know about lactation is what I have tried to bring to this class. And I hope this helps. And if there's something which we need to discuss, probably we can unmute when I finish, and then you can ask your questions, right? So having said this, I'll just share my screen. Any questions so far? Understood? Okay. So is my screen visible? Somebody can unmute and say.
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay. So we have Divya who said this. All right. Okay. So basically, when I look at lactation, it's all about, giving an understanding about what it means to breastfeed. Okay. So, so there are certain things which probably I want to throw as a question to you all, for you to know whether these are the things which ever came in your mind when you started thinking about participating in this class or knowing more about lactation. Okay. So did you all ever think that there is a need to have patience when it comes to lactation? Or whether you ever thought that there is only a need to feel that there is readiness to feed when it comes to lactation? Now, this readiness means the mother's interest and willingness to feed her baby. Okay? Or probably all that your baby basically is going to communicate is by crying. So, how will you really understand? And especially that all the baby really requires is the mother. Now, all these things, when you start thinking, these will give you a foundation of also understanding why it needs to, give a mother the comfort level that she requires while she is nursing. Okay? Now, imagine a mother who's just delivered, a newborn baby, a newborn mother. Okay? A mother becomes a mother only when she delivers a baby. Prior to that, she is a mom to be, and prior to that, she is just like another woman, probably of your and my age. So it is so very important for us to understand here that a mother, when she is new, she will have several doubts around how to manage the breastfeeding, right? So now, if we are able to address these couple of things which I have just put here on the slide, I'm sure you are going to be more a help to the mother, rather than just telling her, okay, you are supposed to be eating XYZ number of things in the XYZ amounts and in the XYZ ways of making it. I mean, not that I deny the chart that it is so very crucial to feed the mother right, but it's so very crucial to also understand other needs of the mother when it comes to lactation. Yeah. So what would be the kind of confusions that come into picture? Here the mother is now trying to think, eventually a new mother here. Now she starts thinking about all these things. How will I manage my baby all alone? Probably post delivery time is the time when the mother already has gone through, labor time, which is quite energy consuming. So immediately probably she needs some help around because she may be feeling tired. There may be times when, she has not slept enough. There may be times when she's scared of the whole thing that has happened with her. There are times that she is very happy, but she still doesn't know how to manage her own self. So, there will be that feeling of tiredness which kind of comes immediately postnatal time. Probably she's thinking of her back that is hurting. As I said, she would not have slept for days together. No, I mean, over a period of time, the baby is going to ask for feeds at hours when you really want to also rest, right? A mother is not used to staying up nights prior to delivery. Most of the time she's usually managing her sleep well, just that she might have to get up more often to pass urine when she was last month pregnant, probably because that's the weight of the baby falling on the uterus, and which calls for additional uh, uh, bladder empty. But now it is a different scenario by itself. Here the mother is waking up so that the baby is being fed probably at every 2 to 2.5 hourly intervals. So here there is going to be some compromise in her sleep. Right. So this is another question which definitely, rushes and, clogs the mother's mind. Probably I want to do everything for my baby because, that's a maternal instinct that now I am a mother and I am probably going to take care of this baby. This baby is something so very precious to me. So I want to, do everything for my baby, but there is some lack of energy here. And probably, I have never thought of learning to do things for my little one prior to my delivery. And then here I'm lacking the confidence to be able to manage. So, given all this, these could be kind of confusions which can, cloud the mother's mind. Now, when you want to clear that, the first thing that comes to my mind is, I generally am able to tell most mothers that, all of the questions which come in your mind definitely happen to probably all new mothers. Because several times a mother feels, ये सब मुझे ही हो रहा है. But it is so very important to console the mother by saying this happens to all new moms and it's absolutely normal. And all, as I said, the first line that I put on the presentation was that everybody needs a little patience. So all these mothers need to have a little patience and of course some physical help to handle the situation. Of course, a very supporting family and a very, very supporting husband. And beyond that, she needs to be having adequate information so that she can handle the required things in the right way and become a confident mother. So by doing this kind of sessions prior to delivery, during their pregnancy, you have all these antenatal classes which have come up. This is specifically to give the mother a learning of all these aspects which are bound to come as soon as delivery happens. So she prepares her through her pregnancy, plus she also prepares a little in advance for the lactation time. Yeah. So see this basically, doesn't this feel a wow kind of a thing? Your the family, rather the husband and the wife, basically are enjoying when the baby is having the first latch. The mother is feeling so very confident and happy to be able to hold the baby in arms and feed with so much of comfort. The two of this picture basically talk something, and this basically are trying to say that it's not so difficult. It's something that has to be well planned. It's something that can make you feel so very nice. It's something that you'll treasure through life. Okay? Imagine this picture where the mother, the father, the baby are all feeling glad and happy and are able to handle things. And imagine a mother who knows a little less and she is all worried around the same thing. So there are these two parallels, and here is where the lactation educator plays a big role. So there are these lactation education classes which begin well before pregnancy, anything around say the second trimester or the third trimester during pregnancy. And when this couple comes around and learns thing with you, you are able to, give them an understanding and how it can be made so comfortable, right? Then for the mother, it is important to understand all these things. So when we do a lactation education class, these are the aspects which need to be covered, right? So first thing foremost is going to be understanding baby routine. Breastfeeding is going to be the most important part when it comes to managing baby routines. Of course, the baby bath, trying to get the baby, well set, well groomed, as I call, know about the baby development, the milestones, how the baby is going to progress, what are the newer things that are going to happen day in and day out. Every new day is something that is happening new for the baby, and the mother is just learning, and there's an awe experience. She feels, wow, this is something so different. There'll be suddenly that, the baby suddenly winks at you. There'll be in sleep, the baby is going to smile at you. These are so very important things which you want to capture, which you want to remember through your life. So if the mother is all worried, she's going to miss all these amazing things that is happening around just in her presence, and she's just going to miss it, right? So it's so important that if she knows, then she's all well prepared and she's waiting to, take a click here. Okay. The schedule of immunization. Now, given this COVID, there's so much of panic around. What she needs to do during her pregnancy and how and what she needs to prepare when it comes to her own body as far as immunity is concerned is both important. She has to be well understood that she's taken her immunization shots during her pregnancy correctly. So you have, a couple of vaccines which the mother is supposed to be taking. She has to be concerned around, or she has to be speaking to a gynecologist to have given those shots right on time so that her body develops the immunity that is necessary. And of course, when she delivers, then she has to know also what kind of vaccines, when, how, and in what combinations, what durations these vaccines need to be given to her child. These are all things to learn, and they are very important. There's so much of new knowledge that is being shared around here. There are so many new vaccines that are entering the market. There are so many new problems or other new infections also which are, coming to face us these days. So there is so much of newer development here, so you have to be, able to keep a good track or good update for yourself, such that, you don't start worrying around which and why vaccine. There will be doctors who will be talking about newer things which you don't know. So either you have to, regularly check with your doctors, or probably you have to be, net savvy, or probably you should be able to check with probably mothers who have delivered around you, maybe, etc. So you know what's happening next. Yeah. And of course, you should know what our baby wonders. I just mentioned, suddenly the baby is smiling. There's suddenly the baby is, making some naughty move. There's suddenly the baby trying to, wink at you. So these are very, very quick wonders which you will, enjoy. So if the mother knows all of these, then she is ready and waiting for these things to happen. And she can, take the pleasure of being there and remember this. And when it comes to preparation for breastfeeding, of course, the woman's body, as I said last when we were talking about maternal nutrition, I did mention that the mother's body prepares for lactation right from the time she conceives. So it's not like, when she's delivering, the body is getting ready to, lactate, but it's all the time that through her pregnancy that the mother is preparing for lactation. This is basically the structure of the breast, wherein you have, a pectoral muscle which is on the body, or rather the muscle of the chest area. Beyond that, whatever expands is the expanse, which is more tissue in nature. Okay, and here in the picture you see some big lobules kind of a thing, the four ones which you see in the center of the screen. So these basically are the alveoli sacs, and these alveoli sacs basically produce milk. Okay? Now each sac is linked with a duct, and this duct basically converges at the base of the nipple. Okay, so if you're able to see the picture, it just says there is an extension of the nipple where these ducts almost extend to the tip of the nipple. but there is a bulbous area wherein you have all the glands or all the ducts coming from various alveoli converging at that point. Now, for the mother to understand, it's so very important that the baby is suckling at the right place. Okay? If the baby is just nibbling over the nipple, the mother will get hurt. But if the baby is latching properly, then or the baby is latching at the base of the nipple, the baby gets enough milk with less effort. So, for you to know the structure is important only when you are able to explain to the mother how the latch should be established and how the baby will get ease in managing to get enough milk with less effort. Second thing which the mother should know is how the shape of the nipple is. Several times the body is ready, the mother's entire, through her pregnancy, there has been good growth of the mother, of the baby. Everything is just set right. But there is a misunderstanding in terms of that she's not checked the type of her nipple. Now, here there could be a challenge because the lower line basically shows the types of nipple which is normal sized, an oversized, or an undersized. Now, all of this basically can get easier for the baby to manage within the first day itself. But the upper sides, which you see, the line which is on top that you're seeing, basically shows a type of a nipple where there could be difficulty for the baby to latch. Now, given this, if the mother doesn't know how to get the baby to latch with that kind of a nipple, we are delaying the process of beginning lactation, and which is where all the wrong things begin. Okay? We start giving a top feed, we start giving not the mother's milk, but just another milk to the baby, and then here the mother is struggling because she is producing milk, her breasts are getting heavy, but parallelly she is not able to feed, so she's going through that frustration of not being able to feed. So if she knows in advance that this is the structure of my nipple, she will be able to, understand how to manage at that point of time as well. Okay. Now there are times when you have, nipples which are scooped. The picture on the right up basically shows that there is a scoop, a spoon-shaped nipple, kind of inverted nipple is what we call that. Or there are times when the nipple doesn't protrude well, the one which is showing on the lower right. So if it's not well protruding, then you can kind of hold the nipple in the way it is shown with the thumb and the forefinger. Try to hold it a little above while you're allowing the baby to latch. So these are very small things which you learn on a lactation education program. But these are so very crucial for the mother to be able to feed their babies. And of course, the preparation definitely says that if the baby has to latch well, if the baby is holding to the nipple well, then how your body actually functions. So the entire process is you should have a suckling baby with a correct latch, and then once the baby starts suckling, then there are these two hormones, the prolactin and the oxytocin, basically which release milk, which function in producing milk in the body, and then the release of milk from the nipple. Okay? So as soon as you have a suckling baby, the pituitary releases these two hormones, and then eventually the breast let out milk and the baby is able to successfully get milk. Now this is the process. Okay? It doesn't happen each time when the baby comes to feed. It is a process which has to start, and this happens very early post delivery time, and which is why you need to encourage the mother to put the baby to the breast as soon as is possible post delivery, and then continue putting the baby to the breast as often as possible in the first day and two, so that this process falls in place and then there is no dearth of milk. So why basically we want the mother to, why do we want to encourage her to breastfeed? There are advantages both for the mother and for the baby. When it comes to the baby, of course, we know that it's going to be nutritionally the best formula that the mother can give to its baby at the very start of life. And nonetheless, two more important things happen is from the mother's body, the immunoglobulins are passed via her breast milk for her baby through the milk. So once the baby is taking only breast milk, the baby is also getting the ready-made immunoglobulins, which help the baby to start its own antibody production. Now here we are trying to impart ready-made immunity to the baby. That's basically what we call as innate, or rather acquired immunity at birth. but that immunity basically supports the baby for some length of time till it itself starts creating more antibodies and then is ready to fight any different kind of infection that comes in. So now, given this pandemic, again, there are several questions which have come around how we can handle and what is it that the mother can do so that the baby is not getting any COVID problem. So this is one special thing, that the mother should be breastfeeding come what may. There needs to be protection of whatever other hygiene necessities are around whatever disease or whatever infection could be. But when she keeps giving the breast milk, the baby gets the benefit. Yeah. Second thing is, because the baby is suckling, there is an entire oral cavity work that happens while the breastfeeding is happening. So this entire oral cavity basically works, and then it promotes the development of the jaw. There is adequate space that is being created within the jaw. Plus, there is space to have say all the about 20 milk teeth that come in first, to have space for all those teeth to erupt without crowding. So breastfeeding has its own dental advantage as well. When the baby is suckling well, the teeth don't get crowded in the baby's mouth when they start coming. So eventually there is a good jaw uh, laying down of a good or a broadened jaw with the breastfeeding. So little dental problems are lesser when the babies are breastfed. Of course, breastfeeding has several more advantages when we've seen in terms of the nutritional benefit it can give. But when it comes to mother, why we encourage the mother to breastfeed also is for the fact that post delivery she is going to have some amount of bleeding that is happening. So now that's the blood which is leaving the body from the area of the vagina, because there is breaking down of uh, the blood lining which has been saved or stored through the 9 months, which is now not necessary. So that is also leaving the body and it is bleeding. Second thing is, the baby basically gets implanted on the wall of the uterus. Now, this implanted placenta basically has also got delivered once the baby has got delivered. So this placenta also has left some loose and raw, yeah, open capillary endings, which is also causing some amount of bleeding. So both this put together, the mother can sometimes bleed profusely. But when she starts breastfeeding, the hormone oxytocin, which starts getting generated, this hormone basically helps the uterus to shrink quickly, and this quick shrinkage of the uterus is able to save a lot of blood loss. So imagine a mother who is, if the mother is anemic, probably she may require securing some amount of blood at the time of delivery, so she doesn't get so much low in her hemoglobin, which may cause some kind of difficulty in breathing, or some fainting, etc., etc., for her. So if the mother's hemoglobin is saved, or if the total amount of blood loss is reduced post delivery, is going to be important. Now that can be naturally done when she starts breastfeeding immediately after delivery. Second thing is, as I said, the mother keeps storing a lot of fat in different areas of our body, and those fats basically start getting used up to kind of give energy for generation of milk. So she kind of also starts losing all this stored fat, and she starts shaping up faster. Now that also depends on what she's eating. Okay, if she's eating for two when she delivers, if she's eating huge portions of fat, if she's eating too many more calories, then this regaining of shape may not happen, because whatever she requires, she's eating much more than whatever she's requiring. But if she's eating the right kind of food, and if she's eating in the right proportions, definitely whatever is excessively stored will start coming to use for milk generation. And we must not forget the point that the breastfeeding basically helps the mother and child to bond better, and this bonding goes much beyond the breastfeeding stage, much beyond lifetime actually. So given a good breastfeeding time, the mother is going to spend quality time with the baby, and this time spent with the baby is going to be so useful, because over the lifetime the baby will always have that kind of bent or that kind of love towards the mother, which has started with the breastfeeding time. So far so good. Any questions? Somebody can mute yourself because in case there is a question. No questions? Can we go ahead? Okay. So these are some of the myths which generally I have come across. Maybe there's something more you can tell when I end this topic on myths. So people feel that, I mean, a basic understanding is that the milk arrives only 2 to 3 days post delivery. Or there is always this question that will the milk that is arriving be enough for my baby? Or people come with an understanding that while they breastfeed, it will cause a shape issue with the breast. Or people also feel that a person who has got huge breasts will milk more. These are a couple of very common questions which come. Or probably breastfeeding also hurts. No, does it hurt if I breastfeed? So the facts basically are like this, that lactation basically consists, lactation consistency basically works on the principle of demand and supply. So when the baby starts suckling, automatically the body is going to generate more milk. So day in and out, when the mother is, feeding the baby regularly at stipulated time intervals, there is going to be increase in her increase in her milk supply, supporting the increased needs of the baby. Okay? So it's important to get the baby to latch and the baby to suckle so that the body responds by generating more milk, and that will definitely ensure adequacy. Second thing is, the size of the breast has got nothing to do with the amount of milk that is going to be generated. So if there's even a lady with a little smaller breast size, she still has the capacity to generate more, because the milk generation depends on how your hormones are going to support that. So how much prolactin and how much oxytocin basically are being generated. And that is dependent on how often the baby is feeding and how well the baby is suckling. Now, pain, as we say, there could be some pain because the mother and the child both are learning the process of feeding at the breast. So there could be, if the latch is improper, if the latch is insufficient, the baby might happen to, maybe chew at the nipple at times. But once the process is learned well, then there is just no problem and there is no pain associated with breastfeeding ever. Okay. And of course, from day 3, normally the breast starts getting more fuller, and then there is a need to use a supporting bra, because then the heaviness of the breast could sometimes be very irritating. First thing. Second thing, that not because of breastfeeding, but because of not having a correct bra, there could be some amount of sagging which is experienced. Now, when it comes to breastfeeding for working moms, so, there is always this thought that right now uh, I have an off and I'm going to be all available for the baby. And probably that's why there's no worry. But working moms always start thinking so much in advance: when I have to join my work, how will I handle or how will I manage? So here she has to also again, plan again in advance of the day. Of late, the government, of course, has rules that 6 months of total breastfeeding and total leave is granted to a delivering mom. But earlier that was not the rule, right? So now that's a little more ease, that at least 6 months you are definitely being able to spend with your babies, and you're definitely able to continuously breastfeed your baby. But supposing you have a demand to join work immediately at the end of 6 months, then you have to pre-plan in a month advance, such that you're not getting confused as to how you manage. So there can be use of a manual pump or an assisted pump to express milk. And once you are probably 15 days in advance of the day that you start working, you can practice the same thing even at home. The timings that you are going to be at work, you express the milk and give it to the baby. So baby also learns to feed the expressed breast milk. Plus your body also learns that this is the time it is going to this is the time you're going to express the milk, and for you also to learn that how you're going to frame and schedule your time perfectly. Okay. So requirements could be anything around 2 to 3 or sometimes 4 feeds during your absence. Like supposing a lady starts at 10 and comes back at 6. Broadly about 4 feeds or say 3 feeds is what is going to be required in her absence before she comes back. So that many express feeds are going to be required, and that many express feeds need to be expressed well in time so that it doesn't become that all are being expressed at the same time. Your body has to have some space to have adequate generation so that you can express it right. So probably if she starts, I mean, if she has to express for tomorrow, she has to start tonight. So one feed she expressed tonight, one feed she expressed in the morning, and one just before leaving. So she has 3 feeds ready, which can last till she comes back. So there has to be some planning around that, and it can be very successfully managed. I've had several mothers who have counseled with me and who have understood how they can manage this beautifully. All their babies are doing well, nice, happy, chubby babies around. Right. So, of course, again, you have to understand how you're going to store that. Okay? It's important to express, clean, store, and store it in the refrigerator, in the bottle compartment, and use it at the room temperature or at the mother's body temperature for the baby to accept that way. So there is this procedure. So you're going to be requiring somebody in your absence who can help you to feed the baby with that given condition. Okay? And of course, um, if the baby is accepting that thing uh, well, only then you start going to work. So that's why it requires that first 15 days of pre-preparation, that you are setting the clock right, setting the pattern right, and then you're not worried because that's going to continue, right? Also, you should know, the mother should be understood of how she can express manually if she doesn't have a pump or if she doesn't want to use a pump. That's again taught while we do a class there. And she has to be given understanding of what different kind of pumps are available to manage her requirement. There are some women who work for a longer shift, there are some who work for a shorter shift, and probably they come, maybe give one feed and they can go back if they're staying in vicinity. So given the circumstance, we will have to give options as to how and which pump will be great for her, and probably how she can manage the expression if she is at office. Okay, whether there is space for her to express and bring back that milk from office, then probably she doesn't need to rush through expressing only from the night to morning. She can space it out during her office time, when any which ways she's not actually feeding at the breast, her breast will get a little more fuller. So probably if she has a space, she can express in office, bring back that milk, and she understands that routine as well. So then she can spend more time with the baby when she's back, rather than also use up some time to express the milk. She should be understood about what kind of formulas are available or what kind of formulas are okay to give. And this also doesn't mean that we are trying to encourage her to take any formula milk, but we are trying to basically encourage her to not panic if the need arises. And how she can use her time with the baby once she's, I mean, rather before going to work and after going to work, because there's several moms who face guilt of leaving their baby behind. They have spent this good 6 months with their babies, and now they actually don't want to go to work because they can't feel comfortable that you're going to leave the baby in somebody's care and go. So these are some mental aspects also which we need to handle. And of course, concepts to know during pregnancy itself, like in the ANC classes, the antenatal classes that are done, these are several things which are taught to the mother. Definitely about what the mother's diet should be now, and probably when she starts lactating, trying to latch the baby with actual dummy examples or a practical session in that, trying to get her to understand how the baby should be birthed, probably understanding different positions of feeding, and of course how, when, how long the feeding session has to continue. Some baby management skills as to understand the baby's cues, when it is hungry, when it's going to trying to tell you about that it's feeling uncomfortable in the stomach, if there are any aches and pains where the baby is trying to announce, if there's an abdomen upset which the baby is trying to say. These are all very small cues which probably if the mother starts looking forward to, she learns from what her baby is trying to tell her. But again, there is a need to have patience for that. So over one day, you can't learn everything. You have to give yourself some time. And we must understand the fact that every baby is different. It's not like, one baby and the next baby and the next baby all behave similarly. There is solid variation, like how there's variation between two friends in the class. There's variation between two children of the same mother, and there is variation of twins coming from the same mother. There is going to be so many things which are not the same. So here, there is requirement of some patience to learn over that. But if they have understood, or they have seen through an array of possibilities in the ANC class, then they are prepared, or they know what to look forward to. That's how the preparation helps. So those skills, basically, we can kind of give an idea of what kind of things happen, and how they can get those skills right before delivery. And of course, some more exercises which are necessary. Imagine your baby is going to be born at, say, 2.5 to 3.5 kgs at birth. If your arms are not ready to rock the baby, if you are going to feel tired by carrying your babies at that time, how prepared are you to deliver, and kind of take you through the lactation time, and take you through the baby care time? You will continuously keep needing help, and you will miss those special moments which you can otherwise spend with your child, just because you cannot manage to hold the baby and rock your baby continuously because your arms are paining. So there are these some exercises which will prepare you to get right just before you deliver. And you can probably do those with smaller dumbbells, smaller water bottles. So there are practical exercise sessions which are done for pregnant mothers during their ANC classes. This is about the breastfeeding, like how the latch has to be. And in case there is a problem with latch, what other opportunity, these kind of nipple shields are available. So these are the two ones where the mother is already pained at the nipple, or the nipple size is too small where the baby cannot latch. Then these kind of nipple shields may be used for the first few days till the nipple becomes a little more protractile and the baby can latch directly. But there are several times when during the lactation phase there could be some cuts or bruises on the mother's nipple because the baby bit the mother. So then this basically works as a shield where there is a protection between direct mother's skin to the baby's mouth. Okay? So this is also, these are all silicone based. This is silicone based, but this is a cheaper variety. Okay? The lower part is all plastic, but this is a rubber one. So usually we don't recommend this one, but if it is a silicone one of this type, elongated nipple, and this is again plastic. So only this much needs to be sterilized properly, and this whole thing can be sterilized. So there are several things which you can learn around how to help a mother, basically, when you do a lactation education. Then you should also know, or kind of be able to guide the mother how to burp the baby. What are the positions which she can hold the baby so that they can burp well, and the importance of burping the baby. If the babies don't burp after feeding, several times they spit, or several times they may just throw up all the milk that they have taken with the burp that actually comes later. So it's important that you burp the baby and then put the baby down, and we are avoiding all these possibilities. And of course, as I said, there is definite need to take care of nutrition during pregnancy. And that's why I pulled this same chart, which I showed in the last class also, that there is some difference which happens when it comes to micronutrient requirement during your lactation phase as well. And it's a little different from what is in the normal, rather the non-pregnant state, during the pregnant state, and during lactation. So here's a comparison. See, when we look at your iron requirements, it's almost double the non-pregnant state during pregnancy. But it goes back, because here now you don't need so much iron, because that at the point of when you are pregnant, you are actually eating also, so that it is available to the baby because from your own food. But here now the baby has started feeding, so the baby is naturally getting it, and that's why you don't need to have so much more. Same way, the zinc requirements remain high because the baby's developmental stage is still high. The calcium remains quite here, but then off late, the latest requirement talk about it being 1200 milligrams here and 1200 milligrams also here. So there are the several nutrients which may be required in a little lesser or more proportion when it comes to lactation time, and we need to adjust that when we are trying to plan diets for them. So I don't want to talk about diet all over again, because we've already discussed that when we spoke about maternal nutrition. It's all about knowing what is the difference between the pregnant and the post delivery time, and how we can make the micronutrient difference here in the in the mother's diet. So hey, all right, there are one or two more things which I wanted to show. I'll just share my screen once again. Are you all able to see my screen?
Yes,
Divya?
ma'am.
Yeah. So I think my slideshow is not going beyond this, but I'll just put the slide. So basically, when I want to, I mean, this is basically trying to close it, of course, but it's important for us to know, or rather, how we can help a lactating mother more than just tell her about food, diet, and nutrition. So we need to learn what her lifestyle basically is going to be around. We need to know what kind of support she is having around. And that's what basically you learn as a lactation educator. And only then, if you're going to give all of this together, then you are going to have a comforted and a more confident mother during her lactation. So this is what I was trying to also indicate is there is a need to prepare early. Yani in your delivery, I mean, in your pregnancy time itself, you should be knowing a lot of things so that you are, making a happy time during your lactation phase. You should be learning more about what is changing in your body during pregnancy and how is it going to be different during the lactation phase. You should know more about how to handle the baby. You should be able to ready probably things at home, some basic furniture arrangement or buying stuff, or kind of clearing areas which could be harm creating for the baby when it starts moving, all of those things. And you need to have somebody who can help you, because doing it all on your own sometimes can become very very hovering. You of course need to have some family support. Of late a lot of us who are working probably live only by themselves. They are husband and wife, only two of them to manage. There could be some challenge, so there has to be either a house help who can be available, or probably you can invite parents to help you around delivery, stay with you, so that you are sure that you're not getting compromised at any point. And probably this is how lactation can then become a more enjoyable journey rather than becoming a little worrisome time for you. So if you're, I mean, the entire emphasis probably I wanted to lay here is that preparing in advance and foreseeing what can happen during the lactation phase is important. And for a lactation educator, she should be well understood as to what all factors would be in the in the mother's mind when they come up with queries, and what all factors she need to address uh, in a way which is more convincing and more applicable for the mother at that point of time. So these all aspects also we need to see. And of course the diet is of course going to be a primary factor which we all address to. So since I come from that background of being a clinical nutritionist along with now a lactation educator and a diabetes educator, I'm able to address all of this together, and that's where all your knowledge probably can come well, kind of, you can give a wholesome guidance to somebody who requires your help. And that's how I feel doing this course basically can help. I hope it's given you some more understanding into what needs to be done. And that's about it. So if there is some question, I can take some question here.
So, ma'am,
Yeah.
hello.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Please
when
go
you
ahead,
said
Dimple.
in the slide where there were myths in which it was written that there is no increase in size after this feeding,
Hmm.
but as my mother said that she says that it happened after the two deliveries, and because of this breastfeeding for a year, she
Okay.
feeded both of us for a year.
Okay.
So, and I have heard many ladies saying that this happens because of breastfeeding. So what could be the real answer, or it's just a myth, or there is some real hormonal changes which are happening inside the body?
So, Dimple, let me tell you one thing is the breasts actually prepare for nursing. Okay. Now, when the breasts are
Okay.
preparing for nursing, there is going to be, the alveoli sacs prior of delivery are also ready. Okay? So, there will be growth in the structure of the breast during pregnancy till you reach the lactation phase as well. So, it's not that, your breasts are going to be exactly the same till you are pregnant and then they start becoming bigger suddenly after lactation. There is a gradual change in the structure which is happening over your duration of pregnancy. You will have a mother requiring to change her bra size at least twice during her pregnancy stage. But the sagging, as I said, if the good or proper supporting bra is not used during the lactation phase, there could be a reason for the breast tissue to become more saggy. So it's not that breastfeeding has caused the size or the breast to become bad. It's probably not taking adequate understanding into how to, structure it well could be another reason. And of course, since the breast
Okay.
is, I mean, as I said, the breast, the alveoli basically increase in size and then they almost become a little more lame when there is no need to lactate. Okay? So I mean, during the lactation phase, they feel a little more fuller, the breast may be a little more tighter, and you don't see that it is going into a little saggy tissue. But once the lactation phase is over, you have, I mean, there is, see, it's all tissue, it's not a muscle in the breast which is expanded there, right? The muscle is on the body. So even if you start doing any kind of chest kind of exercises, there could be some upliftment and some toning, but that comes in the muscle. The tissue may not really come back to its actual original state. So there would be that little difference that you find, but it's not so much of a difference which probably can cause a lot of worry around it if it's well taken care of.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, does this answer?
Yeah. Very nice. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, I don't see any more questions here. Uh, if we can, just once,
Good afternoon, ma'am.
yeah.
Ma'am, I want to ask that many females complain that they are getting node near their breast. So, is it because of the breastfeeding?
नहीं, what they are getting, come again?
मैम नोड गांठ जिसे कहते हैं
गांठ आते हैं during the breastfeeding phase or otherwise?
मैम अदरवाइज नॉट ड्यूरिंग द ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग ओनली
So that could be of several reasons. Can you ask this question?
मैम श्रेया
Yeah, Shreya. So that could be for several reasons. You just don't know. There's so much of hormonal change that keeps happening over the lifetime of a lady. It could be for several more reasons why only breastfeeding could be the cause. In fact, breastfeeding generally actually is protected any kind of cancer issues when it comes to breast. I mean, there are several studies which have talked about it. So if there is a node or a gant, it could be for some other reason as well. It may not always be because of breastfeeding. But while feeding is happening, there are times when there are these milk nodes which happen, and that's because there's so much of milk there and it's not being actually removed at the right time, and which can cause hardness in the breast and which can sometimes develop some nodes. Maybe that's not on the breast, but that could be in the armpit as well. So that is while the breastfeeding is happening, those kind of things may happen. But when it comes to node later in life, I don't think breastfeeding could be the only reason.
ओके मैम थैंक यू मैम
Yeah, anything else? Anybody? Good, we are 29. I think some of you will join a little later. Anybody miss something and want to, recap on? No? All right. So if there are not many questions, we can end the session here. But I'd request everybody to, unmute your videos so we can take one snap to understand. We were so many here.
Ma'am, there is one question from Divya in the chat box.
Yeah, Divya. So, all clear. Okay. How many? There is RA also is how many hours can the milk be stored? Okay. So basically, once the milk is expressed, then the milk can be stored for say about 2 to 2.5 hours safely in the weather that we have, between this 28 to 32, 34 degrees centigrade around Mumbai. But if we need to keep it for longer than that, it is better to express and immediately store in the refrigerator in the door compartment where the temperature is around 4 to 8 degrees. Okay? But given this, when we have to feed the baby that milk which is refrigerated, it has to come back to at least the room temperature before it is fed to the baby. So you can use a water bath, uh, keep the bottle or keep the container having milk in warm water for a while. Try and move it in such a way that the temperature comes quickly to the near normal room temperature, and then that can be used to feed the baby. So Divya is asking about the saggy breast becoming normal. So there are some, special, what you call as cosmetic procedures which can help, but some amount of exercise does bring back the tone of your pectoral muscle. So that also gives a little upliftment. But if the breast is too very saggy, there are some treatments which allow the sagginess to reduce, but those are all cosmetic procedures.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah. How many of you all feel that this is going to be a good line to study? Maybe you can unmute your,
Ma'am,
put the videos on. I
yeah,
can see all of
ma'am,
you.
I wanted to ask you, ma'am, that is there any course like we have course for diabetes educator? So what is the procedure for this lactation educator course?
Yeah, so when I started also I was trying to talk about it. There are at least four or three, names, four institutes which basically offer these courses, Dimple. So one is the Kappa Institute, where from where I have done my educator course. There is another which is called as IBCLCs. Those are the International Bureau of Lactation Consultants. There is the BPNI, which is available, of course, in India, and there is also the LLLI, that is the Lalich League Institute, which also offers this course. But whatever content is shared is a little different in different scenarios. They will educate you around how and what the baby is requiring, how the mother should be taken, but the way it is offered is quite different. So there are some places where you have continuous 15-day session. I don't know now with this lockdown how it is offered. Maybe all must be online, or there are workshops, and then there will be some examination tests which will be online. There will be some observation classes. There will be some case studies which you have to present and which you have to gather and share. So every course has their own typical way of assessing how you can, how educated or how well you have understood about this particular thing. So you'll have to go through all these websites to really understand what suits your requirement. Because I have seen that,
Okay.
I mean, not everybody can spend so many days and leave their jobs and sit and learn something additional. But while you are studying and while you are going through whatever learning courses, if there's something parallel you can do, it works better.
Yeah, so ma'am, from Kappa, if you do, so do they have this virtual classes and stuff in this COVID period?
So I think I'll have to check myself. I haven't really gone back to check ever since I have certified. But there's of course going to be some recertification soon. So I'll try and of course connect with them how they want to do it, because I'll also have to go through those kind of additional needs
Okay.
to support the recertification. But I think, I mean, I haven't heard the new course which is announced, because that they circulate in the groups that we have, but nothing has been announced in the last, I think, 6 months or so far. So why don't you just check, go to the Kappa website. I'm sure you'll be able to find more information
Okay.
there.
Okay, done. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome, Jay.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
ma'am, Riya this side. मैम आई हैव अ क्वेश्चन लाइक अभी जैसे आज सोलर एक्लिप्स है, ठीक है,
Yeah.
तो कुछ ऐसे बोला जाता है कि प्रेग्नेंट लेडीज के लिए कुछ डिफिकल्ट टाइम होता है ये, या फिर इसमें बहुत सारी पूजा एंड ऑल ये सब चीज जो होती है, तो मतलब ये कहाँ तक सच है एंड ये क्या चीज है, लाइक इसमें बहुत ज्यादा कंफ्यूजन क्रिएट होता है, तो थोड़ा सा इसके ऊपर
Okay, so I'll
सजेशन
tell you
चाहिए
what
था.
I know. I cannot comment on something that I don't know. But what I know
Okay, okay.
is usually a solar eclipse has got some changes in the environment, right? किसी भी eclipse के time पे there are changes in the solar radiations that happen at that point of time during those hours, correct? And as a cultural understanding, probably when I was a child to probably what I am today, there were some restrictions laid down in terms of unnecessarily not eating during that time, because digestion and things can change because the atmosphere is getting different. But there is nothing in terms of that the pregnant lady should not be doing anything in particular, or she should be just sleeping and lying down and not moving. Those things I don't believe is a fact. But if there is something when it comes to not eating for that many hours, or probably eating something which is very light, that is natural not only for pregnancy but for anybody, right? Probably even I'll not want to eat because I know there's going to be some kind of radiation, and that radiation is not suitable, right? But there's nothing as far as I mean, when it comes to pregnancy, there's so much of scare कि अगर ग्रहण है तो इतना सारा scare हो जाता है. There's nothing to be scared about. At one point of time we were told not to look at the grahan at all, right? Now we all look forward to looking at all the sites. In fact, कोई कोई ज़्यादा outbolding होते हैं, they actually want to go and observe directly what is happening. So there's not that kind of a scare when it comes to pregnancy. But the fact that some features which our ancestors have placed may have some valuable facts. So we need not, just go out and out and deny everything that is happening. That's my understanding. But I would definitely say that eating at the wrong time and eating the wrong cooked foods during the grand time should be avoided. But it doesn't last for the whole day, right? It may last just for a couple of hours. So it is well to finish and wait and then eat the next meal, right? So that kind of sense we have to use, because there could be radiations which could be heavy for you.
हाँ
That's
जी,
about
ओके
it. I don't think there is a scare around this at all.
ओके ओके, थैंक यू मैम.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? No?
Hello, ma'am. Megha this side.
Yeah, maybe.
I want to ask about milk production. Like various mothers have the problem to decrease amount of milk. How they can increase the milk production during feeding? This is my question.
Okay. So what do you think could be a problem for them when it comes to not being able to generate enough?
Lots of mothers have no idea that how to increase. Like they have doesn't idea कि वो कैसे मतलब increase कर सकते हैं milk production, and उनको पता भी नहीं है कि क्या problem है. So what the factors that responsible to low decrease milk production?
Okay, so when it comes to that basic understanding, there are most mothers who feel कि मेरे लिए yeah, whatever I'm generating is not enough for my baby, which is not a fact, or which is not a truth in itself. See, when the baby is latched, rarely are we able to really see how much how much milk the baby is really suckling and getting, unless you actually express and see this is the amount that the baby has really would have really got. We don't know how much the baby is really drinking. And when the mother is directly latching the baby at the breast, there is always effective suckling that happens. So very rarely there is dearth of milk for the mother. It's more in the mind. But given the fact that if there is some compromise in the baby's growth, or if there is some compromise in how the baby is performing at its urination, etc., there would be a need to, of course, take this into consideration. Now, here is when foods, there are, we talk about galactogogues. These galactogogues are certain foods which basically have some role to improve the amount of milk that is generated. And these galactogogues, if I name a few, would come from your dry and fresh coconut. There is good amount of garlic. There is your methi seeds, if it can be soaked and used. You have your fresh methi leaves. You have your khaskhas, kharik, and your what you call them as poppy seeds is again khaskhas. And come what may, our cereals like bajri and even rawa basically are known to give good combinations to help the milk get better generated. So I cannot say that if you keep on eating rava all day, you will get a lot of milk. But if you're combining it with other foods and if you're keeping your hydration good, it will work better. Now, if I'm only eating, I might get constipated. And we have to understand the fact that when I'm feeding my baby, I am actually getting some amount of liquid out of my body while the baby is feeding. Okay, there is a fluid displacement from my body to the baby. So if my body is not well hydrated, there is going to be some cause of worry for my own body's milk generation. And that's where, if your hydration is right, if the quantum that you're consuming is right, if you're feeding at the right frequency or right duration between two feeds, I am sure that rarely a mother can face any kind of dearth of milk generation. But come what may, if there is a problem with these foods are, over the ages known to help, maybe these can be recommended as a part of your meal somewhere. I can't hear you, Megha. You are muted. No, I still can't hear you. Your mic is muted. Can you type? I can't hear you. Your mic still says it is unmuted. I mean, it's muted. Can the others hear, Megha?
No, ma'am, she's on mute.
Exactly. Even I see her on mute. Yes.
Hello.
Okay.
Can you
Yeah,
hear
tell
me,
me.
Megha?
Yes, Megha. Please go ahead.
Most of mothers ask me about that. Most of infants have colic stomach, so it is related to breastfeeding or anything else.
So, what colic is another thing which is quite commonly found in a lot of babies, but it's not everybody has that. But colic is quite common. And colic is baby's natural ability to get used to, getting adequate milk, kind of digesting it well, and kind of assimilating it well and allow it to pass via the further digestive canal. But now here several times what happens is the baby is fed and it is not worked. So there will be,
Generally, ma'am, soap I think जो बोलते हैं soap is good for baby stomach. अगर mother लेती हैं वो diet में तो इससे बहुत राहत मिलती है बच्चे को. So is it right कि हम मेथी दाना and lots of spices and herbs including during this period. So हम ऐसा कर सकते हैं कि सौंफ उन्हें बताएं या फिर बहुत सारी चीजें होती हैं. So which kind of herbs we can recommend to a mother कि आप ये करेंगी तो आपको ऐसा नहीं होगा.
So do you know, all of you know what we call as a mouth freshener?
Yes.
एक मुखवास बनाते हैं normally for a routine life. कुछ micronutrients आ जाएं, इसलिए we use some amount of मुखवास wherein you use some till seeds, you use some flax seed, you use some khaskhas, and you can use this saunf hai, jeera hai, ajwain. So this can be, all put together as one mukhwas, which you can be advised to take after every meal. So after breakfast, after lunch, after dinner. That will definitely help. But again, as I'm saying, it's not just in pregnancy that you can take this kind of a thing. Your micronutrients should be always good. Even when I'm planning pregnancy, if my micronutrient level is better, I'm going to have a good pregnancy, and I'm definitely going to have a good lactation time as well. Correct. So it's not कि तभी जाके ये help करेगा. These are things which will help any normal individual.
And some myths are also included in for curd, that curd should not be given to a lactating mother. Is it right? Curd नहीं देना चाहिए, क्यों नहीं देना चाहिए? Mothers are asking for that. So
why are the mothers worried? I don't know. दही खाने से तो कोई मुश्किल काम नहीं है और कोई
absolute मैं भी यही बोलती हूँ कि आप खा सकते हैं.
Exactly.
But हाँ,
what
कि बच्चे को मतलब सर्दी हो जाएगी, ऐसा कुछ होता है. Because I am also give a counseling regarding lactating mother. So ये बहुत ज्यादा questions आते हैं मेरे पास कि कर्ड दे सकते हैं या नहीं. तो मैं उनको मना नहीं करती हूँ. At the room temperature we can give. ठंडा नहीं देना है क्योंकि वो कहते हैं कि बच्चे को फिर जुकाम हो जाएगा, ऐसा कुछ.
Correct. What you're saying is absolutely right, Megha. But what you can include here is also, give them the value of why the probiotic. If you are able to see, for any person to accept your answer, you have to be very, very convincing. If I'm going to just say कि हाँ या ना, so it doesn't solve the person's query. वो पीछे अपने दिमाग में लेके घूमता है, अरे इसने तो ना बोल दिया, अरे इसने तो ना बोल दिया.
ये तो होता ही है मैम.
Right. So here you have to give some, some logic which that person can take or buy from you. Right. I mean, आपको तो पता है कि क्यों खाना चाहिए, क्यों नहीं खाना चाहिए, लेकिन वो बंदे को समझ आए वैसे अगर समझाएंगे तब जाके वो कन्विंस हो जाएगा. So most mothers will come from an understanding कि अगर दही खाया और मेरी माँ ने या मेरी सास ने बोल दिया है कि इससे मेरे बच्चे को जुकाम हो जाएगा, she will worry around it. It's not that she is foolish. She knows कि खा सकते हैं. But why is she asking you? She's asking you because she wants to be doubly sure कि मैं सच में जो सोच रही हूँ वो सही है कि नहीं. So here you'll have to give her a logic that how the curd is going to help her body and how eventually it helps the baby. You can't say yes, no ka answer. Oh, it's just not convincing at all, right? Probably, because I've also faced this question several times, and what I basically try to give them an understanding is there is a vitamin B12 requirement in your body all the while. और अभी तो सब जगत will accept that answer because सबकी विटामिन डी कम है और सभी की विटामिन डी.
Yes, ये problem तो बहुत ज़्यादा है.
There universal है, so people really understand and correlate why you're saying. When you say that the probiotic availability from your curd is going to enhance your bioavailability of vitamin B12 from your body, your answer will be accepted. कि कहीं जाके वो आपको हल्का सा हेल्प करेगा. Of course, you are going to say कि ठंडा मत खाना, 4 दिन
yes sir.
और बहुत सारा उसका गड़बड़ करके मत खाना. Eat as plain as possible means उसमें बहुत सारा मसाला डाला या बहुत सारा डाला. Don't try to pollute it. Try to eat it the way it is so that the bacteria which is essential for is available. And
so there is no food. So ma'am, we can say there is कोई भी ऐसा फूड नहीं है जो हम मना करते हैं ड्यूरिंग लैक्टेटिंग पीरियड. सब कुछ खा सकते हैं.
Broadly nahi, but initially for the first 15 days to rather 3 weeks or so, I tried to tell them to go low on little heavy pulses.
Yes.
A little more split dals so that the protein is not compromised. But heavy pulses come रखते हैं because the activity is very limited. It's all around the bedside. You're not really going out for walks, or you're really not taking any specific other activity which will help you to digest better. तो ऐसा ना हो जाए कि आप खूब सारा protein from pulses खा लें and you start feeling gassy.
Yes.
That's one cause, and it's for those couple of 2-3 weeks when you're really more around the baby. After 3 weeks, nobody sits there. Everybody starts moving. So then it's easier to add most foods.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I clear my all doubts. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome, dear. Anybody else with anything question that coming now after Megha's discussion?
Ma'am?
Yeah, Megha.
Ma'am, I have a question. Like most of the pregnant ladies say कि citrus fruit नहीं खाने हैं, ठीक है? Like संतरा नहीं, नींबू नहीं. मैम ऐसा क्यों? Like वैसे
खाली पीली In fact, you should be able to tell them that, you know, usually pregnancy is, as I said, remember in the last class also, that pregnancy is a little immunocompromised state
हाँ जी.
in a lady's life cycle. Now, अभी यहाँ when we are faced with COVID, we are talking to the world कि बहुत सारा विटामिन सी खाओ जिससे आपका immunity सही रहेगा. Now we are talking of a state where any which ways the body is immunocompromised. Why the need to not eat vitamin C from the natural sources? Your santra, musambi are good natural sources. Your limbu, your avla, they are good natural sources of vitamin C. तो नहीं लेने का तो सवाल ही नहीं पैदा होता. It's
हाँ
only
जी मैम एक्चुअली
yeah.
I was working in the Fortis hospital, like internship. I was doing internship there. So patient said like no citrus fruit, no नींबू, no क्या कहते हैं संतरा. I clear that also कि citrus fruit is good, you can take like मैम, but फिर उनकी वो होती है ना अपने पुराने ख्यालात and all, तो उससे फिर वो मानते ही नहीं है मैम कुछ लोग तो बिल्कुल ही.
Correct. नहीं, so यहाँ, you know, where were you? Fortis Vashi or Fortis Mulund?
नहीं Fortis Noida मैम.
Noida. Okay. So यहाँ, you know, you
Yes
will
ma'am.
have these kind of some, कैसे ना रूढ़ी चुस्त होते हैं कुछ लोग. You can't fight their thought line, but you can give them logic. आप अपनी तरह से बता सकते हो कि इसका फायदा क्या होने वाला है. Then let them choose what they want to do, because you know there is some limitation. You can share your knowledge. You cannot ingrain knowledge in somebody till they don't want it. मैं एक डाइट चार्ट लिख दूंगी ऐसा, उसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि कोई बंदा सामने वाला जो ले जाएगा वो उसी तरह खाने लग जाएगा. जब तक कि मैं
Yes
उसका
ma'am.
वैल्यू उसको बताऊं और वो वैल्यू उसके पल्ले ना पड़े, तब तक कोई बंदा एक्सेप्ट नहीं करेगा. राइट. आई मीन, हाउ मेनी
Yes
ऑफ अस
ma'am.
डोंट ईट ब्रेड? Let's face the fact. All of us know
Yes ma'am.
not having any major value as far as nutrition is concerned. But फिर भी हम खाते हैं ना. But we know how we are going to eat the bread. We are going to make it a little better. We are going to introduce something better with the bread so that वो bread is okay to take occasionally. But it's the same
Yes.
thing, you know, when somebody is coming with an understanding कि, you know, संतरा खाने से मुझे तकलीफ हो जाएगा, then they are scared. How many of them will eat papaya in pregnancy?
No one ma'am, no one. कोई
Exactly.
नहीं खाता है.
फिर but
हाँ
हमको
जी.
पता है कि papaya has got actual very good value when it comes to beta carotene and vitamin A, right?
Yes ma'am.
How much are we able to convince those guys कि नहीं नहीं पपीता खाओ, कोई नहीं trouble हो जाएगा? There's just no problem. They'll not buy your answer till they are convinced, right?
Ma'am, should I say something on this
Yes,
papaya
Dimple.
wala thing?
Perfect. Please go ahead.
So it's like I have heard many people say that कि if you're not getting the menstruation or the flow is less, eat your papaya. So aa jayega. And I myself have tried this. I
Okay.
know it's bad, but I have tried this because it has a lot of heat in the food. Like
Correct.
it is a thermogenic kind of food, right?
Correct.
So and in the pregnancy, in the 9 months, we don't want our periods to come.
Correct.
The levels of hormones has to be maintained. So
Perfect.
if then we allow, like as you said, that it's okay to eat a papaya because it is rich in nutrients and beta carotene.
Correct.
So is it ideally recommended and is it ideally right? Like as we know the results of papaya.
Okay. So Dimple, let me ask you a question back here. You ate the papaya because you knew that it will help you to, you know, get your menstruation right. Here we are not trying the lady. I mean, we are not trying to tell the lady कि तुम papaya खाओ so that you abort your baby. What we are trying to tell her is you can eat papaya occasionally without scare, and a portion size you will keep. You know, you're not trying to tell her सुबह शाम रात papaya खाओ. Are we telling that? No. We're basically trying to tell her कि भाई एक slice या दो slice, maybe one small bowl full occasionally is fine. We are not telling her कि एक ही papaya एक fruit है वही आप पूरा pregnancy खाओ. We're not telling her that, right? So it's the
Okay. So
quantity
if we
which matters.
yeah, portion size, if it is in controlled portion, so it is okay for pregnant lady to eat.
Correct.
Oh.
Yeah, it's obviously. See, you know, if when I eat a papaya, I may not land up eating a whole papaya at a sitting, will I?
Yeah, yeah.
अगर पपीता घर में कटता है तो सारा परिवार खाता है at that time. So what will come in your portion is not going to be more than 2 slices at a time. That is safe. I mean, there's no risk in, you know, when you're trying to get your periods, you're really actually eating more papaya, right? आज कल परसों नरसों 4 दिन
So
खाओगे
I
तो
had because I was a delay matlab my periods was delay for 8 days, and so I had this papaya. My mom told me to have that, and I
correct.
had half a papaya, and
हाँ,
the very next day I got my periods. So I really don't know what is the reason behind that. Is that papaya or my real hormone, like it was supposed to
exactly.
come next day?
Exactly. There could have been already some change in your progesterone estrogen level at that time. And naturally also probably you would have got in another day's time. And that papaya could have been
Yeah,
just,
maybe
one.
just a reason. Yeah. Okay.
But of course,
Thank you,
all
ma'am.
said and done, the raw papaya is not supposed to be taken in pregnancy because it's got the the papain enzyme which hurts. Which could cause problems. So raw papaya definitely nobody advises. Ripe papaya occasionally is okay in smaller portion.
Okay. Thank you,
Okay.
ma'am.
Yeah. All right. So great, may I request all of you all to also unmute, share your videos so that we can take one picture of today because last time I missed this. Today I want to see you all once. Cool. Hi, Divya. Hi, Dimple. Hi. Hi, everybody. Wow. This is great. Vaibhavi, I can't see you. Anuya. Anugya. Cool. We have two more. Shagufa, last one remaining from whom I can see on my screen. Cool. So I am very happy that we had this session. I hope you all learned something from this, and I hope you can make a little more wiser decision as we go ahead and you go ahead in your careers. So wishing you the very best. Where is Zoha Khan? So anybody, anything else that you want to say, share before I close the meeting?
No, ma'am. Thank you for this interactive session. Like, I like the session a lot. We all like the session a lot, actually.
Thank you so much for
Yes,
being here.
ma'am.
I'm
Yes, ma'am.
sure,
Thank you so much.
and you can always reach out to me as and when you need any help. Probably I will share my phone number on this chat section. Maybe you all can just keep it and type it for yourself.
Yeah, that would be great, ma'am.
So that's my contact number, and you can save it on your phones or wherever you want. If in case you need to ever get in touch with me, please go ahead and call me, and we can share details as required.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am,
All right.
you stay in Mumbai or out of Mumbai?
No, I'm very much in Mumbai. I stay in Tilak Nagar, close to Kurla terminus.
Okay, okay, okay. Got it, ma'am. Thank you.
So here, most of y'all are from Mumbai, or I mean,
Yes,
I guess
ma'am.
maximum are
Mumbai.
from Mumbai. 10 to 20% are from, I guess, like Delhi, she said Noida.
yeah, okay. And I think we are still 24 now. Somebody has quit the thing before we ended, but most
Yeah.
of y'all are from Mumbai. Then that's great. Okay, then bye bye. See you
Yeah,
all.
bye, ma'am.
Bye.